right. Well, hello, Snavely.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks.
Great. This is our first podcast episode for Cedar Crest High School podcast, so we're calling this.
Cool.
We're just going to ask you some questions, so the student body gets to know you a little better, and then we have a couple segments at the end.
All right.
I hope you'll enjoy, music-related, so it should be fun.
Cool.
My first question I have for you is, I know that recently you got your PhD in music.
DMA, which is
Okay.
the PhD for music people.
Okay,
So
it's called
Doctor of Musical Arts.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And I know you probably studied prior to that, so just
Yeah.
what's your background? Like, where did you study? What did you do?
I have it's long, so I'll make it short.
Okay.
I was really fortunate to grow up in a really musical community in Oregon.
Okay.
And the high school I went to, super, super high achieving people. The principal of principal trombone of Boston Symphony went there. Like, it's a really, really high achieving school. And that was my place. Like, the music building was my place. I was an athlete too. I wrestled and played soccer for a little bit, sucked at that. And but band was really my thing in choir. And so I did that, and after I graduated from high school, I had full ride to Oregon. And I got in a really gnarly skateboard accident. I had to take the first semester off to recover. And in that time, I got a scholarship to a music conservatory in Los Angeles.
So you transferred from Oregon?
Yeah, so I didn't even end up going to Oregon.
Oh, not at all.
No, and so I went down there and spent 2 years down there, and then became a professional player. And I was playing down there, and it was really expensive, and I moved back to Washington, got a teaching job, taught Snoqualmie for 13 years.
Right.
And then decided I wanted to get back into the professional side of music. And I love teaching, but I wanted to get back to the professional side. So we moved to Las Vegas. I did my doctorate down there and played on the Strip 6 nights a week for several years.
Nice.
And did a lot of really cool things. I think for everybody that would know, there's a lot of people you wouldn't know because they're old. Yeah. But Seth MacFarlane, I played for quite a bit. And he's as cool as you think he is. He's really funny and nice and fun to work with. And
cool.
And so that's kind of my thing. And I love research. That was the doctorate. I love research. I could spend 12 hours a day in the library.
Research?
And absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you had a full ride to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
You did not have a full ride to...
I got a scholarship to the conservatory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you planning on doing at Oregon?
Same thing. Study music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. This is a basic one, but do you have any pets? I know you do, but tell them about...
I have too many pets.
Yeah.
I have too many pets. So, I have a tortoise, a red-footed tortoise.
I know that.
His name is Raphael, but we just call him Torts. And if anybody's looking for an 80-year pet, we're kind of maybe thinking about finding him a new home. But
oh my God,
just
yeah.
check with me.
What's that like? Like, so you...
He just kind of hangs out.
But like,
yeah.
who? How does that?
Oh no,
get
it
passed
came.
down?
We rescued it from a friend in Vegas.
How old was it when you got it?
2. Yeah, and he's 8 now.
Oh, 8.
So,
I thought you
yeah.
said 80.
No.
I
He'll
was
be like they live to like 110.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So it's super short story on Torts. His original owner was a high school kid who got a job making beats for Dre in his senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Dre was in Vegas
and
he was like, "Hey, look what I can do." And like, Dre's like moved to LA. So yeah, so that's where the Tort was before we got him. And then I have 3 dogs. So I have this really old little black dog who's super obnoxious. And he's 15. And then I got this little white dog, and he's 14. And then I have this big hound dog that's really loud. Yeah, woo woo. So Bubba is his name, and he's about 2 years old.
So he'll last a little.
And my son's kind of a pet too.
Your son's a pet.
Yeah, I put
How
him
old is your
out
son?
in the yard. 15.
Oh, okay. He's a pretty old pet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next question. I've heard word through some of your students, just word of mouth, that you almost played with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Maybe one of your claim to fame. Just can you tell us about that story?
Yeah. Well, I was set to play with Gaga for a New Year's. I was part of the resident orchestras at the Wynn Resort and Casino, and so and one of the conductors for it. And so anybody who played there, that's who we played for.
Right. Yeah.
So I was at a marching band competition in Utah, and I slipped and fell and fractured my hand. Oh man, I'm a terrible person.
Good.
Hold on. I don't even know where it is.
One of them.
That's the other band director from Nevada. I slipped and fractured my hand, and like 3 days before New Year's.
Oh.
And so I was all set
She
up
was
to
on
play.
New Year's?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
New Year's show at the Wynn.
Big one.
And so I had to actually call Gaga's producer and say I can't play for her. And then right after we moved back up here, the whole orchestra started playing her jazz show.
Just constantly?
Like they played, she did like 3 residencies a year at 3 weeks at a time. So 12 weeks a year. Gaga singing jazz on stage with a full jazz band.
That's sweet.
And of course, as soon as I leave, that's when she does that.
Yeah.
So
Gaga
it's
jazz would have been super interesting.
Oh yeah, I went and saw the show a couple times. It was awesome.
Great.
It was really awesome. Yeah.
Do you have any other like? Who else did you play for in that time frame? Anyone that I would
Dwight
know?
Yoakam, the country artist. I was his resident director for that. And then a lot of it is like really old folks, like a lot of old like Italian showroom stuff.
And casinos. So
yeah,
it's like the pool's a little different.
Yeah, and they're also like they're shows. They're like production shows, so they don't as much have like what's his name? Wolverine, Snickety Snack.
The actor for Wolverine?
Huh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Guy who played Wolverine.
Oh.
We'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, he was the one who started the big show that I played at, and I'm going to blank his name out. Everybody is yelling it right now.
Everyone knows it.
At the podcast. They're like, his name is... I can't remember what it is. Anyway, but I also... I'm trying to make everything short. I also had a whole other career that most people don't know about. I haven't talked about it much here. But I worked in the film industry for several years. So when I came back from L.A., from working and playing in the conservatory... I was broke. I was dirt broke. And so I stayed with my folks, and my folks' next door neighbors owned a little film company. Okay. And they were doing a TV show for Japanese television. And so he hired me just to like be on set and do stuff like bring coffees, And I always worked with electrical stuff growing up, and so the electrician on that show got to be a friend of mine, and he showed me how to deal with all the lights and everything. I ended up working in feature films for about 9 years.
That's sick.
And so I did Ninja Turtles. I was an electrician doing lighting. Yeah. So I worked on Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze. I worked on Free Willy. I worked on Waterworld. I worked on... I did all those Les Schwab commercials, all the old Les Schwab TV commercials. Like, it was crazy because the Northwest was really hot for film back then. Because it could look like anything.
Oh, you were up here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like downtown Portland could look like Chicago, like that.
Right.
And it was
I've
cheap.
heard stuff about that. Like I heard like Dark Knight they used
Seattle,
I think.
Yeah, it was super cheap to work there too. Yeah. And so just out of nowhere, I dropped into like doing really cool. It was really cool jobs. Really cool. But it's hard. It's really 6 days a week, 16 hours a day, and then you work and then you don't work for months. And I couldn't survive it. And so and I really miss teaching too. Yeah. I really miss being in the classroom. So I went to teaching.
Like creative work like that, like you did film and you did music, and is that like fulfilling for you? Like
totally.
Like no other option.
I'm pretty much to be honest, I don't really care. Okay. Like as long as I'm still creating.
Yeah, exactly.
And any time at night, whatever it is, it's fine. I'll go sit in a cubicle and read code, which I don't know how to do. But like I'll do anything to make my paycheck. I don't really care about that. Right. I really like creating, and I hope this comes out right. I don't want it to be taken wrong, but I teach because I want to help kids create. Yeah. It's not a passion. I'm going to say this wrong, but it's not a passion of teaching as much as it is a passion of sharing the art form. Yeah. That it is. And so if I got a call today that was, hey, Snavely, come back down. We want you to play shows for the next year. Snickety snack, I'm gone. Like, I love creating, and somebody will always take the place. You know what I mean? Right. So, like...
someone who could love teaching could also fill that role.
Yeah, totally.
And like, you can... but I understand what you mean saying you want to share the art form. I think that's the most important.
Yeah, that's my whole thing with teaching. If I had to boil my whole teaching philosophy down to one thing, is that I want everybody to be a lifelong enjoyer of music. Yeah. I don't care if you continue to play. I'd love you to continue to play. But like having you in guitar class, it wasn't just about learning to play guitar. We learned about genres and all that other stuff so that you go through the whole rest of your life really liking music. Yeah.
Was there like an age or a time frame or like a moment in your life where you kind of like really fell in love with maybe not even just music, but just like art forms in general and like what expression can give you?
Yeah, a couple times. I actually just this morning I was playing Mahler's First Symphony on Spotify in my classroom, and I was telling the kids that I didn't listen to orchestral music. Well, I mean, I guess I was pretty young when this happened, but my parents weren't musicians. My dad was Marine Corps, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I was listening to the radio, like, on accident on a classical station, and this thing came on, and I was kind of frozen listening to it, like, whoa, what is that? And in the old days, like, you couldn't hit the what am I listening to?
Yeah,
You couldn't
right.
Shazam it, And so I just had to listen to the whole thing, which was a pleasure. When I got done, I went and grabbed $5 from my mom, got on my bike, rode to Fred Meyer's, and bought the record that I had just heard. And I listened to the grooves out of that record.
Yeah.
And I think that was the moment that I was like, music is really, like, it really grabbed me, like,
Powerful.
way in my guts.
Yeah.
And I can say that I love teaching band, and band is one of my main things I do. But I've had many times, especially at this school, teaching choir, where they do something musically, and choir is such an exposed thing because there's no instrument to hide behind, it's just you to an audience, that I've really had that musical thing, that while we're going and like I'll get choked up.
Yeah.
They've teared me up a couple of times making music, and that's the best thing we can ask for. And then honestly, being on stage with Seth MacFarlane was like that was so cool.
Like, where am I kind of moment. Like,
yeah, and like cats that I really like are legends to me.
Yeah.
Were sitting in the section with me.
Yeah.
Like, I turn and look and I see like a trombone player that I have been my whole life, like,
right, idolizing.
and he's just right there, And then just a couple of times, like when I was music directing for Dwight Yoakam, he's a huge country artist. He had an orchestra, but we were hiding behind these screens on the stage, and he has a moment where he's like, and then Ray Charles did this thing, da 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 da, and it was something like this, and the screens come up, and I'm conducting, so I'm right in front, and boom, I get to do this thing, and the audience just goes crazy, and there's 10,000 people in the audience, and I never thought as a freaking middle school teacher in Snoqualmie that I would be on stage with thousands of people cheering, that was cool.
Right.
Like, that's when I think back to like my kids being born, getting married to my wife,
one of
people clapping for me on stage,
That's one of them.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that sounds like
It's cool.
You made a moment, so I'm glad you did that. Returning to one thing you said earlier, you might have already kind of answered it, but one question I had down is, who do you like better, band or choir? I don't know if you can even say that.
They're so different.
Exactly.
And like, not very, very few people willingly take a job like this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't have the training. I grew up as both. I was a Broadway theater kid, and I operatic baritone. Like, I studied opera voice, and then I studied my instruments, and I did both, and willingly, and I really love teaching both. They're so different. Just even the kind of personality that comes into that are different. So I think I appreciate the difference between the two. If I had to pick, like if they had the guillotine there and they said you got to pick one or the other or it's coming off, it changes day to day. It changes day to day. Like, choir has been so much fun to teach recently. The women's choir, the chamber choir here is spectacular. And to have a group of 18 people in front of me that I can throw any kind of piece of music at, and they just go, okay, and off they go. We're making a record this year, so we're going up to Top of the Hill Studios next month to record a record. So so I'm really proud of them, but the band is doing killer stuff too.
Yeah,
I know.
Great programs, both of them. So.
Thanks.
All right, let's look at my notes here.
What is your favorite music event you've ever been to? Either as like
been
a performer,
to,
or you could also be experiencing it too.
Sasquatch at the Gorge. That was like a big concert. It was like a like a multi-day, multi-stage thing, and I played at it. We used to have a group in Seattle. I think it's still here, called Seattle Rock Orchestra, and it's a full orchestra, and they like rewrite music, and they have local bands front. And we did Radiohead. We did a whole set of Radiohead, and so like being there on stage and playing that was really cool. But being just at that, that was the coolest festival I've ever been to. And then we had backstage passes because we were performers. Right. And so like Mayor Hawthorne, I don't know if you know who Mayor Hawthorne is, but he's this killer like contemporary funk artist. And like I went backstage and I was sitting like in a chair like this looking at the Gorge, and I look over and he's right there, and I'm like, dude, your set was great. He's like, thanks, man. What do you think I could do better? And I'm like, nothing. You're my hero. So that's a cool festival. Anything at the Gorge.
Gorge is beautiful.
I would see my grandma play ukulele at the Gorge. Yeah. That is a killer place.
Yeah, Gorge is amazing.
That sounds great.
Outside of music, what's your favorite art form?
Art form?
Yeah.
I love poetry.
I feel like that I don't want to say it's pretty similar to music, but there's like tying elements.
Yeah, and I think it was my daughter really turned me on to poetry because she's a songwriter.
Okay.
So she's a singer-songwriter, and so I started really listening to her songs and realizing how poetic what she writes is. And when I was a kid, I used to read a lot of poetry. I don't like visual arts. I'm terrible, but I love seeing it. Like I love going to museums. I love paintings. I love the Impressionism. When we were in France, last time we were in France, we went to Lingerie, I think is what it's called, near the Louvre, where Monet had it designed to hold all the water lilies paintings, and just, you know, I could stand there for hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love art.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. I'm sure at some point you made some of your own music. I'm assuming that's true. What's your creative process like? Like I know you can attack stuff from like a theoretical angle, but you can also attack it from like kind of a vague, more like whatever angle. And I don't know if you've done that.
I've done both. I had to do the theoretical as in my training,
For sure.
right? I didn't enjoy it, but it always was better as far as end product making sense and being something. Even like commercial music. I remember taking a commercial music class where we had to like write a tune, and we had to follow this very specific thing. It came out better. Like the song made more sense. It was more mainstream.
Too.
Yeah, and we followed like all the rules and all that kind of stuff. But like I think I'm somebody who, and a lot of songwriters are like this, that I'm inspired by a moment, by something, right? Yeah. So like I had a really dark time. I was really upset about some stuff. It was during COVID, and I grabbed my guitar and I wrote a song. I've never been this kind of person. I wrote a song in like an hour, and it was good. Like it was a really nice song. I realized I stole the whole the guitar progression ended up being "Here Comes the Sun," the Beatles, which I did. I revoiced it and put it in a different place on the neck, and it might have been in one of your classes. One of the guitar classes here. I was playing it. I'm like, somebody's like, Snavely, that's "Here Comes the Sun," and I'm like,
I hate you.
oh man, I didn't realize I did that because they had a totally different melody and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that and like when I was in France, same trip, we were at Mont Saint Michel, which is like it looks like Hogwarts. It's out in northern France.
Oh, I think I know. It's like on the water.
Yeah. And we were walking up. There's this huge steps that go all the way up to the abbey. We're walking up, and I heard this like clinking next to me, and I turned and looked, and it was a monk, and he had this big key ring on his belt, like on his sash. And they still use the old giant skeleton keys for that building. And he was walking up, and every step he took, clank, clank, clank. And I ended up using that to write an entire band piece.
That's cool. Did you record it, or was it just like...
No, it's still like, it's in like its 95th edit.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't love it.
That
that like, it's kind of my opus, you know.
Yeah.
I've been writing it for, I don't know, 10 years. And I put it away for months and months. I'll look at it and fix 2 measures, and I'll put it away. So someday. Someday. Played at my memorial service.
Well,
ooh, that was dark. Sorry.
I think I just heard the bell ring.
Did it really?
I think so, Ryan. Is that?
I believe so.
Okay.
Right on.
Well, I had a lot more, but maybe another day.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man.
I like talking
fun.
music, like talking art stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Tune in to CHS podcasts
As often as possible.
as often as possible.